Welcome to Best Kept Secrets Travel Podcast, episode 17. My name's Morgan.
And I'm Will, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking to you guys about the ancient wonders of the world, followed by the new wonders of the world, and we cannot wait to see how many of these you guys actually already knew something about.
Best friends, and that's for life. Who stay traveling? I'm talking worldwide, 65 countries between the two. Every moment is so unbelievable. Sharing the best kept secrets about the trips and mistakes they made that they can't forget. So tell me if you're ready for a time to remember as they gear up for the next adventure. Yeah. Woo! Best kept secrets travel.
The best way you can support us on podcast, YouTube or TikTok is on Best Kept Secrets Travel. And on Instagram, it's the BKS Travel. So that's THEBKSTRAVEL.
And if you guys want to take part in this episode, you can either comment below or send in an Instagram message or a comment on the post of our Instagram about this episode. A place that you believe should be on the list of the new wonders of the world. And at the end of the episode, you guys are going to find out our opinion on this as well.
There are many different wonders of the world. The original wonders of the world are called the ancient seven wonders of the world, and they start with...
Number one of the ancient wonders of the world is the Pyramids of Giza, built in 2600 BC in Egypt.
And these are massive tombs of Egyptian pharaohs. The pyramids are the only ancient wonders still standing. The tallest of the three is called the Great Pyramid.
Number two on ancient wonders of the world are the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, built at a completely unknown time somewhere in Iraq.
Legend has it the garden paradise was planted on an artificial mountain and constructed to please the wife of King Nebuchadnezzar.
That's correct.
King Nebuchadnezzar II, but many experts have said that it never really existed.
Fun fact for anyone out there, Nebuchadnezzar is also the name of a 15-litre bottle of wine, which is the equivalent
the daily amount Will drinks.
It's the equivalent of 30 standard size bottles of wine. Number three on ancient wonders of the world is the Temple of Artemis, built in the 6th century BC in Ephesus, Turkey.
Ephesus, Turkey. Built to honour Artemis, the Greek goddess of the hunt, this temple was said to have housed many works of art.
Number four on the ancient wonders of the world is the statue of Zeus, built in the 5th century BC in Greece.
This 40 foot, which is 12 metres for normal people, statue depicted the king of the Greek gods, Zeus.
Number five of the ancient wonders of the world is the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus.
That is actually pretty much correct.
Built in 4th century BC in Turkey.
The elaborate tomb was built for King Mausolus and admired for its architectural beauty and splendour.
Number six on the ancient wonders of the world is the Colosseum of Rhodes, built in the 4th century BC on the island of Rhodes in the Mediterranean Sea.
And this is a 33.5 metre, or 110 foot, statue that honoured the Greek sun god Helios.
Last but not least, we have number seven on ancient wonders of the world, which is the Lighthouse of Alexandria, built in 3rd century BC in Egypt.
Towering over the Mediterranean coast for over 1,500 years, the world's first lighthouse that used mirrors to reflect the sunlight for miles out to sea. Now, I've got a quick test for you, Will.
Yes, Morgan?
Can you name the ancient seven wonders of the world?
Well, without looking at it?
No, reading off it. Yes, without looking at it.
Let's try and go. So, number one, Pyramids of Giza.
C.
Number two, Gardens of Babylon.
Yes.
Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
Yes.
Number three. With a statue of Zeus in there.
Yeah, statue of Zeus.
Okay, I'm just going to crack them out now. We had Colossus of Rhodes.
Yeah.
We had Mausoleum of Halicarnassus.
Halicarnassus, yeah.
Halicarnassus. What was 7?
And the 7 is that third one that you've missed.
It's number 3. And the third one,
Artemis.
Temple of Artemis. Wow.
I'm actually quite impressed that you got that.
Bosh.
So now the next question is, if you could only visit one, obviously the pyramids of Giza are the only ones still left. If you could only visit one, which one would you choose?
I believe we've read somewhere prior that the Lighthouse of Alexandria did claim to be inhumanely big. And I do think that would be one of the coolest things to see out of all of them.
For me, I think it would be the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, because it was built at some point, so they don't know when it was built. They don't even know if it existed. And it was a garden paradise that was built on an artificial mountain, which I just think would be so amazing to see.
As we're halfway through, and before we do the 7 new wonders of the world, and we tell you about the ones which we've actually been to, this is a great time to let you guys know. If you scroll down the page, if you're watching on YouTube, you can click that subscribe button, you can click a like, and you can ring that notification bell. And if you're feeling very generous, leave a comment below with any feedback that you guys want to give us about this episode so far. Helps massively. If you're listening on a podcast, please leave a review. Send it to as many family friends as possible, because we want to try and push it out and pass as much travel information to everyone out there. Now, let's crack on with the new 7 wonders of the world.
Yeah, I've got an itchy nose.
I'm just ramming it down my throat now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay, the New Wonders of the World were founded by a Swiss foundation in 2000, and they thought that as there were only one of the ancient wonders of the world still standing, that they needed to update the list. So they created a vote where there were over 100 million votes worldwide to create the new 7 wonders of the world. Originally, the 7 Wonders of the World was a list of the most remarkable creations of classical antiquity, and based on the guidebooks of the popular Hellenic sightseers. So, how would you define a wonder of the world?
I think wonder of the world to me has to be, if we're looking at the typical wonders of the world, which are all man-made ones, I think it just has to be an absolute astronomical feat of craftsmanship. Just has, that sort of sheer size that when you go into a cathedral, you just suddenly get blown away. It looks big from the outside, but when you go in, you just get this whole different feeling of it rolling down. I know when I've been to Durham Cathedral, I've stepped in and I didn't really just take in from the outside just how massive this was going to be. And there are certain things like we've actually been to a couple of the ones which we're going to talk about, and when you're there, you just sit there and you just think someone's actually physically built this.
Sagrada Familia is one that was spent over 100 years and they still haven't finished it. Yeah, but I think for me, something that also is very important for this is it has to be globally recognised.
Yeah,
because it's a wonder of the world, not just a wonder of Monaco or something.
So when we get a lot bigger, then Morgan and I can apply to be a wonder of the world.
Exactly. I'm going to eat.
We want to be globally recognised, bigger than David Beckham.
Eat a lot.
Huh?
I was going to eat a lot of food to become
so
big
you get your own gravitational field. I saw that. This is so off topic. I saw this in absolutely killed me. It was a Family Guy episode where Peter got told by the doctor he was fat, and he came in. What's the dog called? Brian. And Brian was there like, "But Peter, you are fat." And he went, "What do you mean I'm fat?" And he just grabs an apple, throws it at him, and it goes into orbit. And he's like, "What's happening?" He's like, "Well, you've got your own orbit now." And he's like, "No, I don't." And he just throws a TV in and different stuff.
Okay, coming back.
Morgan, are we going to tell our viewers and listeners why there are only 7 wonders of the world when there are so many amazing things out there?
So the original wonders of the world, it was a Greek thing, and the number 7 is very important in Greek mythology, and the Greeks believe it represented perfection and plenty. So that's why there's 7.
Just before we start off the 7 wonders of the world, the new 7 wonders of the world.
Wonders of the world.
Any of the ones which we've been to, we're going to lob in a few best kept secrets or travel tips on how best to visit and get there. To start off with, we have the Great Wall of China. Funny enough, built in China.
Really?
Onwards from the 7th century.
Now, it's 8,850 kilometres long, which I haven't worked out in miles this time. But so it's fairly long, and it was built to...
You think that's long?
It was built to stop raids, but the actual effectiveness of this is argued greatly. So they actually think it was built more as a propaganda stunt, which I thought was quite an interesting fact.
Massive.
Yeah.
And can be seen from the International Space Station.
Wow.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, that is quite cool.
Number 2 of the new wonders of the world is we have Chichen Itza, Mexico.
Chichen Itza.
Chichen Itza. Sounds like a lovely Mexican taco, doesn't it? A Mayan city on the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, which flourished in the 9th and 10th centuries. A number of important monuments and temples were built. Among the most notable is the step pyramid of El Castillo, which is the castle, which rises 79 feet,
24 metres
for normal people, above the main plaza, a testament to the Mayans' astronomical abilities. The structure features a total of 365 steps, the number of days in the solar year.
And you actually used to be able to climb up to the top of this, but they've stopped that in recent times, which, I mean, for me personally, is quite unfortunate, but I completely get why they did that. Chichen Itza is home to the largest Tlachtli. Are we going to go for
Spelling is on the screen for our YouTube viewers.
largest Tlachtli court, which to me is essentially a bit like Quidditch in Harry Potter with death. The ball court is shaped like a capital I and is oriented north to south or east to west, which represents the heavens. Players were wearing heavy padding, using elbows, knees and hips to knock a solid rubber ball into the opponent's end of the court. In post-classic times, the object was to hit the ball through 1 or 2 vertical stone rings, which is why I think it's very much like Quidditch. The ball represented the sun or moon or stars, and the rings represented the sunrise or sunset. It's an extremely violent game which often caused serious injury and occasionally death. In addition, human sacrifice was also a part of the ritual surrounding Tlachtli.
If you're actually wondering where you might recognise this game, if you're from Morgan and I's generation or potentially a tiny bit younger, you might have seen the film El Dorado, and they actually play this in it, and is one of the best scenes in the whole film, so I do really recommend. And we'll find a YouTube link and stick in the description below of a clip of this. I'm sure we can find one just to make everyone laugh, but it's such a good film.
And I have actually been to Chichen Itza. It is one of the ones I have been to, and it was when I was a lot younger with my family, and it's probably my first proper travelling experience to go and see something. So this was my first time going from a really nice hotel to getting on a bus, going to all these random stops that these buses take you on, where you get the food, where there's just flies going all over it. And it was a real shock to after your westernized hotel experience. But it was really cool, and I really enjoyed seeing it. And seeing the Tlachtli court was very cool, but the actual 365, the castle, was a very impressive sight to see, and I would well recommend it. If you can, try and visit it earlier, because it does get very busy there, but that's going to be similar with all these spots.
Number 3 on the new 7 wonders of the world is Petra, which is in Jordan. The ancient city of Petra, Jordan, is located in a remote valley, nestled among sandstone, mountains and cliffs. It was believed to be one of the places where Moses struck a rock and water gushed forth. At its most populous time, Petra was believed to have 30,000 people living there. The city began to decline, however, as trade routes shifted. A major earthquake in 363 CE caused more difficulty, and another tremor hit in 551 CE. Petra was gradually abandoned. After the 8th century, when Petra was largely abandoned as a trading centre, its stone structures were used for shelter by nomadic shepherds for several centuries.
Then, in 1812, the unique ruins of Petra were discovered by a Swiss explorer named Johann Ludwig Burckhardt. He described the ruins of the once great cities in the chronicles of his travels. When Petra was eventually named the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1985, the Petra Bedouin tribespeople who had made homes for themselves within the city's remaining ruins were then forcibly relocated by the Jordanian government. But Petra is definitely one I want to visit.
Petra is one which Morgan and I have spoken for a very long time about going and visiting. You know, it's in all the Indiana Jones films. Well, I've seen one of them. But
all of them, yeah.
every single one.
Everyone.
But it's just one of the most unique sites that I can think of, and I'd love to go and see it.
And I don't understand how they built it originally. It's crazy.
Probably using tools.
But how they didn't exactly have scaffolding.
DeWalt.
Did they just human pile up the wall to get to the top?
I'm going to stick a load of Amazon affiliate links in the description below for the kind of tools which you could use to build Petra. If you just
so you can build your own one in the side of your house.
It's more so if you want to buy some tools, then we get money.
Is that why? Okay, next one.
Number 4 of best kept secrets, new wonders of the world, is Machu Picchu. Based really close to Cusco in Peru. This is an Inca site which was first ever discovered in 1911 by Hiram Bingham.
That is correct. Machu Picchu is a 15th century Inca site located on the ridge between Huayna Picchu and Machu Picchu mountains in Peru. So Machu Picchu is actually one of the places that we have been to, and we did a 5-day trip from Pisco. I was about to say Pisco. From Cusco. We did a 5-day trip from Cusco, and we started, and day 1 was extremely exciting, wasn't it?
And Cusco, for anyone who doesn't know, is one of the biggest, most popular cities in Peru. It's based at 3,500 meters, so when you're flying, if you're not used to altitude at all, it can be really tiring. And then
Machu Picchu is even higher.
Machu Picchu itself is lower.
Yeah. But
on the trail, the Salcantay Trail that we did, by the end of the first day, one of the points you go up to is 4,200 meters, and you're overlooking this amazing lake. And then you hike back down to about 3,800, 3,900 to stay in this camp.
Yeah.
And then you go through the days, and then you actually go quite high up again over the main Salcantay Pass.
So there are 2 main treks. One is the Inca Trail, which was obviously done by the Incas, and a lesser known trail is the Salcantay trek, which is the one we did, which from our research we thought it looked prettier and it was slightly harder trek, so that was the one we wanted to do, and also it was less touristy. Throughout the different days we got to stay in multiple different huts and tent style things, so on our day 1 we slept in these. Do you remember them?
In day 1 we stayed in these small huts, which looks a tiny bit like something which you'd imagine at a farm for sheep or pig, or potentially a chicken coop.
Yeah.
On the other nights we stayed in everything from tents to
rooms with beds.
Yeah, and then near Machu Picchu
where it's Hannah caught a chicken with his hands.
Yeah, and then on one of the last ones we were staying in sort of like mini dorm rooms and a few other people. And then on the trail you're going through everything. You're going these amazing like mountains, and then you've got these, I think they're called cloud forests.
Cloud forests, yeah.
Oh, absolutely amazing. You feel like you're going through parts of Peru where it's almost slightly deserty, and the mountain come around a corner, and then it's just this intense, like consistent fog almost, and it's super high humidity in the air.
Yeah.
And it's just unbelievable. 30-foot trees, lots of mosquitoes, everything. It's just super bizarre suddenly going from feeling super dry and everything, then you come around the corner and it's the exact opposite.
When you also go from the highest point where there was a bit of snow to the lowest points where it's really hot, humid, the vast changes in temperature, locations, it was a really exciting hike. The benefits that we found with the Salcantay trek is you also got fun little extra activities. So we went to hot pools one day, we went zip wiring one day, and we did that upside down, and Will's not a fan of heights, so my favourite moment of this was this bit.
I could literally just put in that video.
Yeah. Why are you doing this?
I'm going to kill you.
And then one of our other favourite nights was one of the nights we were told tonight is your party night, And it wasn't even a bar, it was like a mini off license where we got to buy drinks. And then there was a campfire and they played music and we got to dance around and have a really good night.
And then we felt awful, which is why I didn't feel so good doing the high zip wires, because I was extremely hungover.
But it was still good. But then once we got to Machu Picchu, it was an early start. Maybe, I think we got up at 3:45 and then started walking around 4 a.m. And then it was, once you get there, it's 40 minutes walking upstairs. At least. If not more. Which some of the people in our group thought that was actually the hardest bit of the whole trek. Which I completely disagree.
For anyone who's wondering, the Salcantay Trail isn't the only way that you can get to Machu Picchu. You've got the Salcantay Trail, you've got the Inca Trail, which you guys might have actually heard of, super famous. But the Salcantay Trail actually covers a lot of that, and then you do a section of the Inca Trail at the end. The other way that you can get there, which is a super popular way, especially if you're less abled in the mobility or you have a shorter time.
Or can't be bothered to walk.
Or you just, lazy. You've got the train. 2 options for the train. There's a sort of slightly busier one, a lot cheaper, or there's one where you can have 3-course meals, sleep on the train, looks super lovely, slightly a bit more dressed up. Just depends what your budget is and what you really want to experience, because for both Morgan and I believe that the actual journey was so much more of the fun than Machu Picchu itself. Yeah, Machu Picchu is amazing and it's a wonder of the world, but all of your biggest memories, all my favourite parts of that whole trip were on our journey to get to Machu Picchu. It's not when you're actually there itself.
Although I was quite happy that I got a selfie with the llama. That made me happy. But yeah, when we were actually at Machu Picchu, like all of these sites, we were there and we couldn't see it. The weather was awful when we turned up, and we were there for hours to essentially wait for literally, it would be 10-15 seconds break in the weather where you'd suddenly be able to see it. Everyone's rushing to try and get a pretty photo. And so it's a mixture of just sitting there, relaxing, taking it in, and trying to make the most of it and getting the photos you want to, even with the bad weather.
Number 5, for the 7 wonders of the New World, we have Christ the Redeemer in Brazil. Its origins date to just after World War I, when some Brazilians feared a tide of godlessness.
You got it right.
They proposed a colossal statue of Jesus, and the construction began in 1926 and was completed 5 years later.
The resulting monument stands at 30 metres tall, which is 98 feet, not including its base, which is about 8 metres tall, and that's roughly 26 feet. And its outstretched arms span 28 metres, which is 92 feet. Somewhat disconcertingly, the statue is often struck by lightning, which is really not ideal. But in 2014, the tip of Jesus's right thumb, and I didn't read this part in the Bible.
Right thumb, for you sick-minded people out there thinking it was tip of someone else,
was damaged in a storm, which you can still see to this day, which I think is
Why didn't you tell me that when we were there?
I didn't know this when we were there, unfortunately.
Got to go back, what a shame.
So, as Will pointed out, we have actually been to Christ the Redeemer. We were unfortunate in that we had plane delays, so we were planning to get there for sunrise. We didn't. And so when we got there around midday, it was super busy. I was personally shocked as to how little space there is up there and how many people they actually allow up there, because you could barely move around, and then there's like people lying down to try and take pictures because you're so close to Christ the Redeemer. But we got some cool photos. We did also have, as per usual, bad weather. So when we were there, at one point, a few minutes after we got there, we physically could not see Christ the Redeemer. Jesus had disappeared again. And we made jokes about that.
And if you didn't know Jesus disappeared before, spoiler alert for your PSHE studies. Or RE studies.
RE, not, yeah, what is RE.
Number 6 on the 7 new wonders of the world is the Colosseum in Rome. Originally started in the 1st century by the order of Emperor Vespasian.
Vespasian, yeah.
A feat of engineering, the amphitheatre measures 620 by 513 feet, or by people who want to be correct, 189 by 156 metres, and features a complex system of vaults.
It was capable of holding 50,000 spectators who watched a variety of events. Perhaps most notably were gladiator fights. So what's your most famous and favourite gladiator film?
It's called Gladiator. It's one of the best films in the world. It's one of my favourite films in the world. And if you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. If you don't like it, you're wrong. End of. It's such a good film. One of the most amazing things about the actual Colosseum in Rome is when you go and visit it, sadly they put this massive glass almost wall around the base of it for the queuing, but that's just for the safety of the tourists as well in recent times. But there's just as well as the Colosseum itself, they've got this sort of museum throughout the outer rim of the Colosseum when you're going through it, which you can see all the different things that they found whilst digging up sections of the Colosseum and removing dirt. They found everything from lion and tiger bones, bear teeth and bones, bits of wolves. They found loads of different plates and different fragments of food, and it's just insane when you think about a time when you'd have 50,000 people.
Yeah.
That's a pretty large stadium, even for nowadays.
Yeah,
50,000 people, and you just stood there watching other humans kill each other. Or imagine going to Twickenham and instead of the rugby, it was gladiators fighting, and then all of a sudden there are 3 bears and 2 lions or a tiger.
Crazy.
It'd just be insane.
So most of the fights were gladiator fights, which is human versus human, but they also fought against other animals. And it is rumoured or estimated that about 500,000 people died in the Colosseum. It's a ridiculously high number. And additionally, so many animals were captured and killed. It is rumoured that they actually put some animals into extinction through killing them off in the Colosseum, which is
bonkers.
Deep.
Number 7. On the 7 new wonders of the world, last but not least, we do have the Taj Mahal it's in India, and Morgan has visited Taj Mahal. I sadly haven't visited yet, and I'd love to. This mausoleum complex in Agra, India, is regarded as one of the world's most iconic monuments, and it is perhaps the finest example of Mughal, Mughal, one of the finest examples of Mughal architecture. It was built by Emperor Shah Jahan, reigned in the 1628 to 1658 to honour his wife Mumtaz Mahal, chosen one of the palace, who died in 1631, giving birth to their 14th child.
It took about 22 years and 20,000 workers to construct this complex, which includes an immense garden with a reflecting pool. The mausoleum is made of white marble, which features semi-precious stones in geometric and floral patterns. Its majestic and central dome is surrounded by 4 smaller domes. And it's also rumoured that...
I'm just laughing. I'm sorry. I respect any woman who's having kids, but if you're popping out 14, that is bravery.
That is.
14 years of your... Unless she's having twins or triplets. 14 years of your life being pregnant.
It is rumoured that Shah Jahan had designed his own sort of the same as the Taj Mahal, just a black marble version for himself after he died.
Really?
But that ended up not happening.
Oh, they should build it.
But I as Will said, I visited the Taj Mahal, and I think it was very impressive when I went to see it. I went there for sunrise, and that made the experience so much better because we had about 15-20 minutes just to ourselves where we got to get these amazing photos, including, and we've seen it all before, the Taj flip. It's going to come up a lot. And it was really impressive, and shortly after, the area was packed. The sunrise, again, as we've said, the weather was awful, couldn't really see the sun, so that was slightly disappointing from that perspective. But I spent an hour and a half, 2 hours walking around the Taj Mahal. And then the other main thing to do in Agra is to go see the Red Fort. My biggest breakaway coming out of the Taj Mahal and visiting Agra was actually, I was done all my sightseeing. I'd seen the Taj Mahal, seen the Red Fort or Agra Fort. and I'd finished by 8 a.m.
Oh,
and I wasn't leaving until the evening. So I was sort of like, I don't know what I'm gonna do for the rest of the day. One of the best things you can do if you've done sunrise at the Taj Mahal is actually go across the river for sunset, because the sunset's then behind the Taj Mahal and you get this beautiful view. And lots of people do this across the river at the Taj Mahal, and I definitely recommend that.
on that note, Morgan, how many of the new 7 wonders of the world have you visited?
So I've been to 5. So I've been to the Taj Mahal, Chichen Itza, Colosseum, Machu Picchu, and Christ the Redeemer. How many have you been to?
You've been to quite a few.
Yeah.
I have been to 3.
My original plan was I wanted to finish them this year, but COVID had come.
And funnily enough, I've actually been to all those 3 with you.
Really?
Yeah, the Colosseum I've been to.
Yeah, with me.
Machu Picchu and Christ the Redeemer.
Oh, wow.
But the Colosseum I did go to first time fair few years before, but we've also been since.
Been there. So which of the 3 were your favourite?
Out of those 3 in particular, I do have this sort of love for Rome and the sort of traditional ways, and I'm massive.
The history, the romance.
The history of not so much that. more, you know, the gladiator stuff, the killing and all that, that side of it. I think
there was killing in the Schlachtley fields in Chichen Itza, but I guess
I haven't been there.
Yeah, sorry.
I do think the Colosseum in Rome, I think there's just something about it. It's amazing, and just how obscene it all was. Like the supposed 500,000 people dying there, the fact they put animals extinct, and just there's just so much to it, and it's such a central part when you think about Italy as a country. The Colosseum is one of the first things that comes to me.
Well, and I mean, for us in Europe and just in the media in general, it's a very popular theme, gladiators, and it's more of a history that we learn about more compared to the godlessness of Christ the Redeemer or the Mayans with Machu Picchu. Yeah. We hear a lot more about the Colosseum, so it probably hits us more.
Yeah.
So which out of the 4 for you and 2 for me are you desperate to see next? For me, it's easy. For me, it's Petra.
For me as well, I think it'd have to be Petra.
I'm desperate to go to
I'd
Petra.
love to do certain sections of the Great Wall of China. Sadly, I know a lot.
You don't want to do all of it?
I seem to remember just seeing like how long it'd take to walk the whole thing.
There are definitely marathon races that they organise and you can run.
Or you do like large sections of it.
Yeah. Well, a marathon isn't the whole of the Great Wall of China.
Could be.
Or not.
I think Petra is definitely up there. It's been on my list for quite a while of just things that I outright want to do, not when I'm just looking at wonders of the world. So Petra's up there. I don't know, and I haven't really looked into, and we should maybe do an episode researching it, but what else I'd really want to do in Jordan.
There's the Dead Sea. So I think lots of people when they travel around Jordan, or the way I would do it is you'd drive around, you'd hire a car.
Yeah. In
some Middle Eastern countries that's considered fairly dangerous, but you drive around a car and then you go to the Dead Sea, you'd spend a couple of days in Petra. So the really cool thing about Petra is they do light shows a couple of evenings a week, and that is really pretty. So I'd recommend seeing it in the morning around sunrise, and then in the evening when they have the lights, and you can get all these beautiful photos. And then the Dead Sea, and then there are a few other temples that are very impressive to go see in Jordan. But we will do a video more in depth, or a deep dive into Jordan.
And hopefully in the future we can do a vlog of us going to Petra.
Yeah.
Or one of us.
Pod vlog.
Shh. Can't tell them all.
It's a secret.
Can't tell them all about the pod vlogs, Morgan.
So, Will, what are your best kept secrets for travelling to popular tourist destinations?
Firstly, find time of the year that you know it's going to be busiest, so try and avoid that. Personally, that's my opinion. You might get slightly rougher weather, but you might end up being one of the only people there.
Yeah.
Pick the time of the day that you're going to go and see it. So, for example, it's not a wonder of the world, but when I went to go and see Giant's Causeway, the best thing to do was to be one of the first people there. I personally booked the accommodation a lot closer by so that I knew I was basically first person in. And these are just the best tips that we can give anyone, is try and make sure you're the first person there. You might think, oh God, I don't want to wake up at this time in the day, but then you need to remember is, are you ever going to be there again? Chances are you're not. So actually make the most of that time that you're there. You can lie in bed whenever you want in your life, but if you're there and you're going to see a wonder of the world, you want to make the most of it and to really commit to it. So actually just get up, commit to it. You can have a siesta in the afternoon, but I'd 100% recommend trying to get that sunset thing. Some of the places as well, if you can get in certain hotels and stuff, they might enable you to get in an hour earlier. I know at Machu Picchu there's a stupidly expensive hotel, but that does actually enable you to be in an hour without other tourists there.
That'd be amazing.
Which is just insane.
Unless the weather's like it was when we were there.
Yeah, but I'd still take it.
Yeah, of course you would. And we talk a lot about being creative.
We do talk a lot.
We do. We talk a lot about being creative and actually just going out there, exploring and making up your own photos, finding different angles. But for me, one of the things with these very popular touristy destinations, and especially because it gets so busy, is I would actually research and plan the photos that you want to take. So it means when you get there, you can walk straight to these locations at sunrise, get these amazing photos whilst there's no one there, almost run there, get there first, get the photos when there's no other humans there, no one in the way, and then you'll get your perfect photos. And then when it gets busier, then you can take your time, walk around it and take in the sights. But for me, that's really important just for getting that shot you want. There are many other wonders of the world that aren't part of these 7. Which are some of the wonders that you think were missed off this list?
Personally, being, British, and if I'm looking at these man-made feats of engineering, something which is amazing and something which has actually survived quite well. Personally, I think St Paul's Cathedral has to be up there. I think if you're in London and you look around, I do believe that it's one of the most amazing things to go and visit. They've done light shows outside of it. It's amazing when you think about the damage that was done to London during the wars. Yeah, with these firemen and just people, everyone looking after it, and it was just amazing that it came out as it did.
Yeah,
St Paul's has to be up there. I think if I was looking at literally the other side of the world, I absolutely love Sydney Harbour Bridge. I think that's an amazing feat. Do I think it counts as a wonder of the world? I think if you're looking at
no, it doesn't. It's not part of the 7.
I think if you're looking at things such as Christ the Redeemer, which is a lot more modern, I think there's a place for the likes of Sydney Harbour Bridge. I think they're amazing. I don't know if people out there would appreciate them as much. There are these amazing feats of engineering out there. Some of the bridges out in China and stuff are insane.
And this goes back to what we said at the start: is what do you define a wonder of the world?
Yeah.
What is that criteria that makes it a possibility for being on that list?
I think for me right now, we're just looking at it has to be man-made. Okay, it's not. There are natural wonders as well, and there are a lot of those which I could crack out,
which we could talk about in a future episode.
But I think if I'm just looking at man-made, then it's the likes of St Paul's Cathedral, Sydney Harbour Bridge, Sagrada Familia in Barcelona. I think could potentially be out there just because it's taken so much time. There's so much history to it.
So the 2 that I can think of off the top of my head. So the one that actually back in 2000 caused the most controversy was, I always say this wrong, Acropolis.
Yeah,
which is an ancient citadel that's built above Athens, and there are basically still a load of historic ancient buildings that have been left there. And the other one which I have actually been to, which I have no idea how it's not on the list, is Angkor Wat, which is the largest religious complex in the world in Cambodia.
Really?
And it's just truly amazing. It's these massive religious temples, and there are hundreds of them, and you basically hire a tuk to get a pass to be allowed in this area, and you go and just explore. And so many, because there are so many, some of them aren't very touristy and there aren't that many people, and I just don't understand how people didn't vote this. But that's part of the thing with it being a vote, is maybe the general public for some silly reason didn't know about it.
This is true. I mean, Morgan, you've even put down Chernobyl on your potential list of things on our notes.
I mean, it's man-made.
Oh, it wasn't. It was a man mistake, was it?
It's still man-made. It's still man-made, and I just think, and maybe it's still too recent, but I just think it's a truly unfortunate catastrophe that has been built, well, not built because they've left it. They had left it, and it's become a tourist destination, and it is globally renowned, and everyone knows about it. And I think
I've got one.
Even if it's not now, in the future,
so hard / impossible for almost anyone to ever go and tick off as their wonder of the world.
North Pole,
Titanic.
It's man-made.
It's man-made. Globally known.
So there is actually a tourist company that are opening up to do submarine tours, but it's extremely expensive, where you can go and actually get close-ish.
If you know someone working for this company, or if you work for this company, we would love to be sponsored by you and to represent your company and to go on every single one of your trips for free.
Sounds like a good deal to me.
We'll give you some Imodium. Trade-off.
Easy.
The main thing about this episode is showing you guys just how many beautiful things there are in the world, even if they're man-made. There are also amazing 7 natural wonders of the world, which we might talk about and discuss and see what your guys' opinion are. But please drop a comment below if you think any of these particular 7 wonders of the world shouldn't be in that list, and what you guys think should be 100% on that list, because we'd love to hear what you guys are thinking.
And maybe in the future we'll do best kept secrets, and we'll create an actual list or awards of the best kept secrets around the world that we think
and what we believe should be our 7 wonders of the world. And maybe if
we could get the audience involved and get a vote going.
And if the audience vote, then we get someone out on top. Then maybe we'll go and do a vlog and go and visit and tell you guys our experience of that one.
And we'll try and beat the wonders of the world and get more than 100 million votes.
Exactly. That's what we want. 100 million votes. We're going to need to get everyone involved in the YouTube and podcast.
Wouldn't need everyone. We just need all of PewDiePie's supporters. That's it.
PewDiePie. If you're watching this, help.
Please.
And Mr. Beast, you together.
That's more than 100 million. We would do well then. The best way you can support us is...
Come on, actually sound enthusiastic. You sound like going to funeral.
I felt enthusiastic.
The best way you can support... That was not Morgan's enthusiasm.
I felt enthusiastic.
No, I felt like I was reading a sermon at a funeral.
The best way you can support us, because podcasts are really hard to grow, is actually tell any of your friends or family or enemies or just human beings or anyone who can listen, just anyone in general, about this podcast, and if they think it's interesting, because we want to teach and educate as many of you as we can, and we're hoping to do that with every single episode. And to wrap the episode, roll the outro.
Yeah, let's make it happen. I hope that you can handle going on adventures, best kept secret travels. Yeah, all over the globe, having fun, you know the deal. Amazing secret locations, hang out with Morgan and Will. Educate and entertain, haggle in the market, sharing their experiences. Time to get it started. Let's go.